You must get tired of eating fish and chips all the time. And why do you even call them chips when they're just French fries? And you ever notice when people curse, they say, "Excuse my French"? Not me, I have nothing against the French.
Right, well, I'm not French, Steve, now am I?
I just didn't want you to think I was prejudiced against the French or anyone else. They're like your neighbors, the French. And your neighbors are like my neighbors. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Have you ever heard that commercial?
No, Steve.
It's for insurance. Y'all must not play it here. So I know that you all do the arranged marriage thing. Rashid and I had a long talk about it, of course. Rashid and I wanted you to approve too, Callie.
How 21st century of you. Steve,
Will you marry me?
Come
What?
here. I'm
Well, I
sorry.
can't believe
Stop
this.
bloody talking while I'm talking.
This is very strange.
So, what?
This new information is well, new and changes things, I guess.
You guess. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm sorry, Steve, you just happened to show up at the end of a very long line of a lot of very bad things.
Callie, this doesn't make any sense. I take you out on a lovely date. We eat fish and chips when I'd rather be eating a burger or some lasagna.
Steve, I'm sorry.
I figured we would have a nice, long, traditional wedding in a big sanctuary. All of my family would be there. We're more of the Easter Christmas Christians, but we would do your Catholic religion.
You don't know anything about my people.
Oh, yes,
What
I
are
do.
you?
I saw Selena and the director's cut, and I saw Lombardo like 3 times. 3 times. Unbelievable.
This makes loads of sense at the end of the day. I'm a lesbian who has to go with every Hispanic bloke in England until her brother gets so desperate that he sets her up with a cowboy.
I take offense to that.
Oh, but I should feel sorry for you because you watched count them, 2 movies about Hispanic people in your entire life and ordered fish when there are hamburgers on the menu. Forgive me for being so insensitive.
I ordered fish because I wanted you to like me. And sure, I've seen more Hispanic movies. You know, like the Spanish soap operas where the mother slept with the son and the baby's a robot and everybody's always crying.
Do you see how all this is moot point now?
I'm so confused. Let's review.
Let's not review. Bloody hell. Let's get the waiter. Haven't you had enough?
Why is your brother setting up his lesbian
Would you
sister
keep your voice
up
down?
on dates and tricking well-meaning men, specifically me, into proposing to her? I came here to finish my business degree, but I was not born yesterday. So I took a few years off, became a fireman,
What does that have to do with anything?
and I'm 32 years old, but that does not
Wait,
mean
are you
that
going on and on?
Why did your brother even put me through this? Is this one of those reality shows? Little brother says out there's lesbian sisters? Is there a camera? Let's talk about this. I'm a good listener. Go ahead. I'm listening. You have to say something if you want this to continue in what we call America, a conversation.
Are you done? I guess I was hoping that you wouldn't tell Rashid.
He doesn't know?
You're finishing your bachelor's degree, right?
If you're so bloody smart, why would you tell a man who's friends with your brother and sits next to him in the 8 a.m. classes twice a week? Why would you tell me and not your brother?
Maybe for the same reason you would ask a woman that you've never met before to marry you.
Well, your brother made it seem like it would be easy. I've been looking for that.
Look, you seem very nice.
I am very nice.
And at the end of the day, I hope you find someone you like. Steve, being a lesbian is not negotiable. Don't start with how sexy it would be to be with me or to watch me and another woman.
Callie, I did not say any of that.
You didn't have to. Up until a few minutes ago, you thought I was a quiet, subservient Hispanic toy for sale from her brother. Steve, go get a doll. She can travel with you to America whenever you want. In the meantime, I'll continue to be a loud, abrasive lesbian, while my brother sets me up with every bloke on the street, and they don't even have to be Hispanic anymore. Do you have any idea what that's like? How would you?
You're right, I wouldn't.
Stevie, why did you want to be with me? I mean, before.
I figured that we would have visited my family in the winter when it's so cold here. I would have been willing to stay here when I'm done with school, and we would have gotten a nice place by the...
Steve, we haven't even shared dessert yet.
Don't blame me for all this. 5 minutes ago, we were on a date.
We were just two people in the pub.
Callie, do you remember the last time someone, man, woman, I don't care, had their hand down the small of your back or lean into you? Like it didn't matter where you ended and they began?
Yes, I do remember that, and that was strangely poetic.
You don't have to sound so surprised. Anyway, I remember that feeling 3 years ago at a 4th of July celebration. You know that's the holiday where we...
Yes, Steve, I know the holiday.
She was the only woman I ever really loved, and I knew it was ending. Could taste it. I just held her as the fireworks went off and the dust got in her skin. Figured I would hold on, hoping that would keep me for a little while. You know, they say babies will die if they're left alone too long. I always wonder if it was true for bigger people too. Like how long would we last? She left with her Pilates mat and Snoopy slippers a few days later. I bet it hasn't been 3 years for you.
No, it hasn't, but you wouldn't want to hear about that.
Why not?
Come on, Steve, I'm not here for your fantasies.
This thing where you assume you know what I'm thinking, it's getting old.
I'm sorry. I do have a woman in my life, Michelle. She's a teacher for people that are deaf. We've been together for 11 months. The longest we were away from each other was this one time for 3 weeks. She was at a retreat where they weren't allowed to talk, total immersion. So she would call and I would say, "Is it beautiful there, love?" And she would hit a couple of buttons. Sometimes she would leave me messages. Beep, 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 beep. It didn't matter that she didn't say anything. But I can't take her home for Dia de los Muertos.
What's that?
It's a festival to celebrate the dead.
You mean like Halloween?
No, it's a celebration of the dead and what they've accomplished and honoring their spirits and what they've done.
That sounds nice. You know, my mother has been asking me for grandchildren since the day I turned 27. Every year at Christmas is the same. I can't wait to hang another stocking for my grandchild, if I ever get to have one.
Now imagine that same conversation. Well, not about Christmas. And what if you can never give that to them? Could never bring someone home for a holiday for the rest of your life?
Then why don't you just tell them the truth?
Can't say. Mom, daddy, or she that chosen women over men. It's not a hamburger over fish. You don't just know how to react. I'd run the risk of not being allowed to see my nieces. I'm so exhausted from hiding. I can barely breathe.
So stop hiding.
Have you been listening to what I've been saying?
Have you?
Are you going to tell my brother?
Do you want me to?
I don't know.
I never thought that about that thing that you said.
Which thing would that be?
The one where you maybe can't see your nieces because you're gay. That must suck.
Yes, well, thanks for making me feel better.
Listen, you get to decide what to tell your family and when. As far as I'm concerned, I'll tell Rashid tomorrow that we're getting married. Or I can tell him that you're a lesbian. And if he doesn't let you be with his kids anymore, I'll punch him in the face. That was me kidding.
You're funny. Maybe I told you because somewhere deep down I do want him to know. But I just don't know if I can take that risk.
You don't have to rush.
Just wish it could be more simple. Like, why can't what I want be a part of the whole picket fence thing? But I guess it's pretty ridiculous, huh?
I think we're all looking for that. My grandparents met before World War II. They dated for 7 days in a row. And my grandfather asked my grandmother to move with him to Louisiana, because that's where he'd be stationed. And she said, "Is that a proposal?" And he said, "Of course it is." And they've been together ever since. I just want that too. Huh? Asking you to marry me on a first date. You must think I'm pretty desperate.
Not any more than the rest of us. How? You want to have some dessert?
Oh hell, sure. You know we're gonna share the dessert, right?
Nate, no one said anything about sharing a dessert.
I would go home with you for Dia de los Muertos, if you ever wanted me around. You're a nice girl, Callie. I mean woman. I mean bloke. I mean mate.
Let's just get some dessert.
You don't have to rush.
Hey, they might mess up soon or something like that.
Shut up!
Do you see how all this is a moot point now? All this is a moot point now?
I'm confused. Let's review.
Bloody hell, let's not review. Let's get the waiter. I'm Haven't you had enough? I feel like I said enough too forcefully.